and in some part of it, she referenced Christmas.
And then we had to kill her.
Yeah, I mean,
it was terrible.
Ready?
I'm just rolling. I'm in the roll zone.
Highway to the roller zone.
Hey everyone, and welcome to The Inside, a podcast where we get into the extraordinary minds and experiences of everyday people. I'm Jay, and with me, as always, is Adam. Hey Adam, how's it going, eh?
Pretty good, man. You know, just trying to make it by. Still kind of figuring everything out here in 2021, where things still aren't back to fully normal, but just trying to make it by.
Yeah, it still is pretty weird here. And then, being back at work, it's kind of strange because we have such an event-heavy type of schedule, that includes usually being around a lot of folks and things like that. But, we're still just trying to have to figure out how to do that in a lot of different ways.
Yeah. But one good thing that this whole thing has taught us is how to adapt to life and still have fun, like this podcast we created.
Well, Adam, that's not really one of the things I mentioned that's keeping me going.
No,
no, seriously though. Like this show would have never happened without the pandemic starting back in 2020.
Yeah.
Maybe we just yeah, maybe everybody's memory of 2020 is even worse now. Well, even though 2020 was the year of thinking outside or inside the box, yeah, there's some stuff that just couldn't happen.
Yeah, like that annual loogie spitting contest.
Yeah,
missed that one. And there was like the haunted house at the place where you work that just couldn't happen, man.
Yeah, I know. I mean, it was a hard decision, but we had to do what was right for others and not just do like what we always did. But I bet a lot of haunters had to cancel their haunted houses too. Except I do know some folks out in California, Ben and Emily Auer. That's Auer for those of you that need to know how that's spelled.
Yeah.
But yeah, they were able to adapt their haunted house. It's called the Witching Auer.
Oh, I saw what they did with that there.
Yeah, pretty creative. Well, so they adapted that so people could still experience it safely.
Oh yeah, you told me about them. That was really cool.
Mm-hmm. It was actually really cool, especially considering they had already been working on a walkthrough and then they had to make this change. But if we already talked about it, then I mean, there's no point to keep talking about it.
Yeah. Alrighty. Well, that was the inside.
Seriously, Adam. What they did was really creative because they made this a drive-up experience based on the horror movie Halloween.
Oh yeah, I remember that movie back in the 70s. It had that smoking babe, Jamie Lee Curtis, who was the main actress. Then there was that like hockey mask villain Michael Myers, who was on a rampage to kill her.
Mm-hmm. And was he smoking too, Adam?
No.
I remember the opening scene of the movie, and it was from like this really creepy old house where Michael lived there.
Why do horror movies always take place in like creepy old dark abandoned houses? Like, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, interesting you say that. Like, why don't they ever take place in like a well lit like library or like a professional restaurant kitchen,
like a furniture store? Like, look out, Jamie Lee Curtis, he's behind the buffet table. He's going to cut you up with his hockey mask on the Lazy Susan while everyone's watching from the sofa section. Oh, no.
Oh, quick, get behind a sofa. Oh, God. Adam, we're off track once again.
Oh, man.
Back to this. The movie setting was an abandoned house, whether you like it or not. Okay?
Yeah.
And Ben and Emily, what they did at their house in Atwater, California, was to build an exact fake replica of the movie house front.
Oh.
Yeah. And on top of that, because I had to go back and watch the movie again to compare the two. It was incredible. But also, they did all this rear projection stuff of character silhouettes that were synced up with the sounds and effects and the actual dialogue of the movie scenes.
Oh, yeah. That is really cool.
It was so cool. And after I saw that, I had a lot of ideas, and like they didn't really ask me about an idea, but I'm thinking about for them for next year. This would be a lot easier too, because they spent like 9 months on this thing. Like they could just use their hands and hold up like some cats in front of a light bulb or something like that, and just create
extreme shadow puppets.
Yeah, scary cat shadows.
Well, okay. Seriously though, how about this? Let's take a break, and while we hear a word from our sponsor, while that's playing, I'm going to go snowboarding with the Pope, and then we'll talk to Ben and Emily about the production process of all this. Sound good?
Sounds good, man. Tell the Pope I said, what's up?
Jay.
Yes, Adam.
Whenever I'm watching a scary movie, it gets pretty intense sometimes. Mm-hmm. So intense that sometimes I'll crap my pants.
Yeah, Adam. I feel the same way when it gets really scary.
No, really. I crap my pants.
What?
That's why I wear the new Inside adult diapers, designed specifically for people who suffer from clinical horror movie diarrhea.
Oh, I just heard about CHMD on my daytime TV, Adam.
Mm-hmm. It's becoming more widely known. And Jay, these specially formulated crap beer devices really work. They can handle up to 30 gallons before reaching capacity.
Adam, really? That's a lot of dung for one movie.
It is. And Jay, I've heard a major feature of these is the patented scent removal and cover-up system that allows you to carry that deuce around for weeks before changing it out. Anyone visiting the Witching Auer walkthrough haunted house in 2021 will definitely need these.
Dang, Adam. They really will need those for the Witching Auer haunted house. That's something. I know everyone will want some of these. Mm-hmm. To order yours, just click on the link on our Instagram. And best of all, if you order now, you'll get our complimentary inside suspenders to keep that hefty load inside. Hey, Ben and Emily, thanks for coming on today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Yeah,
we're excited.
So we're gonna get into the details of like your haunted experience and like all the amazing stuff you guys have done. But before we do that, in order to give like our 6 listeners like a frame of reference for this whole thing, in less than a minute, just walk us through exactly what kind of experience you created. Like paint me a picture of what happened this Halloween.
Well, Halloween, we decided to create this kind of drive-by display, if you will, and it was completely modeled after the Halloween movie from 1978 with Michael Myers and Jamie Lee Curtis. It was originally going to be a walkthrough experience, and then kind of with everything that was going on during the year, we converted it into a drive-by display. And it featured all the different kind of projections and moments and dialogue and music from the film. And it was all kind of built around this Myers house facade that we created in front of our property.
And well, I think we'll talk about this later, but there's a full video of the experience out there, and we'll link it in the show notes for people to find it. But it's it's incredible. It's very, very professional. Yeah, thank you. But before we get into the haunted house stuff, we're going to back up a little bit and just have you guys tell us a little bit about like where you guys grew up and how did you meet and kind of the beginning of the story.
Well, I grew up right here in Central California. You can tell them where you are from too.
Yeah, I grew up over in a little town called Prescott, Arizona. Way up in the mountains, beautiful little small town, pretty small town. But we grew up in, different states. We actually met, well, you can tell them how we met.
Yeah, well, we met on YouTube of all places. So that is not how
YouTube's dating site.
Yeah.
So that's how we met. Ben actually did this really incredible recreation of Disney's California Adventure Park's World of Color. And I saw that, and I didn't know who he was at the time, if it was a guy or girl, what age. But I saw what he had done, and it was incredible. So I messaged him, because at that time I was working with Maya and Renderman for 3D animation. And so I asked him how he was doing that, and we found out we were the same age, and we started working on projects online together for about 1.5 years. We became best friends through that, and then we fell in love through that, and we met for the first time at Disneyland with our families about 1.5 years after that.
Yeah, about 2 years or so after we first reached out, we actually met in person at Disney, because at the time that was the big ambition, was we wanted to work at Disney. We wanted to be Imagineers. Mm-hmm. You know, we wanted to kind of virtually create the magic of the parks and the experiences and the shows and the attractions. And so, yeah, we met on YouTube of all places, and here we are.
That's a crazy meetup story, really. Is that video still up on YouTube?
Oh gosh! You know what?
Of us meeting?
No. Is there a video? Is there a video
of Ben's animation?
Yeah,
you know
yeah. We want to see your meetup at Disney video.
Hey, well, that's probably up there too. But no, yes, there is a video still up of that recreation. I saw a lot of other people do similar things, and so I wanted to take World Color and do the same thing.
Well, that seems really impressive. Is that what you went to school for, or what did you guys go to school for?
So I got my bachelor's degree at Cal State Fullerton. We actually both went to Cal State Fullerton, at slightly different times. But I got my bachelor's in technical design and production with like a specialty in like lighting design. Because at the time I was working at Disneyland for the technical services department. And so we were doing all the shows and spectaculars and whatnot.
Yeah, and same thing. I went to Fullerton as well. And my major was communications with an emphasis in entertainment and tourism. Same thing, because we were working at Disney at that time. And my credential program was after the fact. And that was a year program, so that was nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, and now you're going through yours.
Yeah, that's a good point. So that was our bachelor's, and then now after a credential program, now we have you're doing a credential program for her teaching credential, and then I'm in the progress of completing mine.
Well, while you guys were at Disney, did you guys get to do any cool stuff? I mean, personally, I'm like a big Star Wars, Marvel geek nerd, whatever you want to call it. Did you get a chance to work on any of those kind of sets or anything?
I got to bring a lot of characters to life, and you appreciate this, Adam, but I got
He's like a character paramedic or something.
Yeah, that's right. Literally bring them to life, back from the dead.
Or like a delivery doc for characters. Push a little harder.
Come on!
Get that character out of there.
Ben, breathe, Ben.
Hey, it's a tragic, thing. It's behind the scenes Disney. No one really sees that tragedy back there. But no, you'd appreciate this. So they just brought Star Wars Land to the parks. So before Star Wars Land, they kind of had a big Star Wars kind of like an expo center thing.
Launch bay.
Yeah, that's right, launch bay. And so they kind of brought all the Star Wars characters to life and environments and all the different. At the time, it was right when Force Awakens came out, so Star Wars had been dormant for so long, and then all of a sudden there's this huge, rebirth of Star Wars. So I got to bring a lot of those characters to life, and you got to do stuff with Marvel because you got to host them all the time.
Yeah, and I worked with the Marvel characters. Before I left, that was what I did the most. I was with Groot a lot, so I got to host Groot, which was crazy. That was really fun. The tree.
Ah.
The best movie Vin Diesel's ever been in.
Oh,
yeah, that was Vin Diesel, wasn't it?
Yeah. Well, I'm so jealous.
Well, as you mentioned, right now you're both teachers, but sounds like maybe you should have been like professional movie set designers or something. And by seeing your work and watching some of the behind the scenes stuff that you guys have done, like the time lapse and the painting of the actual outside of the house, it's just really impressive how you guys pulled this off.
Like, I think you get Jay. We're interviewing the next J.J. Abrams here,
pretty much.
Other J.J. Abrams.
Yeah, J.J. Abrams.
It's J.J. and J.J. Abrams. Yeah.
Well, thank you.
No, thank you so much.
How'd you guys learn to do all that? I mean, some of what you've talked about already I think lends to that, but just to go out on your own.
Well, we definitely, I mean, we grew up in the theater, you know, both, and it's funny because we both grew up in different areas, but we both were very heavily involved in theater, you know, from a pretty young age. And so I think that plays a huge influence over us. I mean, the whole idea of the theater is, you know, you're creating all these temporary environments and temporary spaces, and you're telling the story, and then it all just kind of changes, you know. And so I think that was a big inspiration growing up. And then obviously you know, wanting to work at Disney, the whole drive, I think, to work there was just, you know, at that place is where they kind of, you know, it's all about creating this immersive environment.
A lot of it was just, I don't know, experimentation, especially aging things. I got really creative with that stuff.
Oh my gosh.
For the Strode Realty sign, I sprayed Pam all over it because it was a perfect mint condition sign that we had made. And I sprayed it with Pam, and I just threw a whole bunch of dirt on it. And after I did that and shook it off, like all the dirt stuck to the Pam. And then I dripped a whole bunch of watered down paint on it to make it look really old. And I don't know, it's just trial and error, I guess.
Yeah, absolutely.
But it's interesting what you come up with when you're trying to age things, especially.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a whole lot of work. Like, but what made you guys pick this topic? Like, why aren't you guys like the couple that has a giant Easter egg or like a giant 20-foot Christmas tree? Like, why Halloween out of all the things?
You know, what I think it is about the holiday Halloween, you know, is, you know, everyone does, like, for Christmas is like the other big holiday where people do huge light displays, and it's super awesome. You know, it's super cool to see something like that. But for Halloween, I think is the one holiday that you see people building things like haunted houses. I mean, you know, the garage haunted house has been around for eons. And so I think it's the one holiday. I mean, no one, you know, opens their garage up for Christmas or something like that. Or Easter, you know, the focus is completely different. But with Halloween, it's like, I think it's a really like build and prop heavy holiday. And it's so fun. I mean, going back to our roots in theater, I think it's so fun to just build an environment at your house, you know, build something that feels like something you've seen from a movie or a TV show. Yeah.
Here in North Carolina, it's St. Patrick's Day, and people are just building like leprechauns and like Lucky Charms, just open. Giant Lucky Charms everywhere.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
So speak for yourself.
I mean, you just get so sick of seeing it.
Yeah. God.
Well, how long have you guys been doing this? Because by the looks of it, it looks like you guys have been doing this for a long time.
Professionals.
Thank you. It actually surprisingly has not been that long.
No. We started, as long as we've had like that Witching Auer type name where we declared, hey, we want to kind of do some Halloween type things, you know. It's really only been 2 years? 2018 was when we did it.
Really?
And even that was on such a smaller scale than this year. I mean, we like we said, we lived in Southern California in a townhome, and so anyone that lives in a townhome like that knows you only can do so much. And so luckily, we lived on the street side, so we had this big, beautiful window. You know, we had this idea. We're like, what if we make this haunted window display? And so we created this kind of Haunted Mansion inspired window display with moving props and just different things to kind of, you know, have people walk by and kind of just draw interest into.
Did that attract more trick-or-treaters, or were people like afraid of that, or didn't know what to do with that, or what?
It was kind of cool. It was nice because we left the screen open that first year we did it, and it was amazing just to hear people's reactions to that, you know, when they walked by. So we may have gotten more from that because you would hear people like, whoa, look at that window, we need to go check that out. So I think that's when we really fell in love with that whole idea too, you know.
And it was really spooky and fun. It was like, I mean, even going into, I mean, obviously this year's a little bit spookier, I guess, but you know, it was definitely a really spooky and fun kind of window display with just kind of different little things happening here and there, you know, like the crystal ball and the cards moving. We had a floating candelabra. And so I think kids really got a kick out of it to come by.
Well, one thing I was curious about is how'd you guys pick the name? Like your last name is Auer, but like the Witching Auer. Where'd that idea come from?
That's clever.
Mm-hmm.
Well, thank you. That was me. We were just trying to figure out a really catchy name that we could call ourselves. So this is what we got into when we were falling in love with the whole idea of doing these displays and different things. And our last name we already kind of used for so many things because it's Auer, so you can use it like our family, but you can also use it like hour as in the time. And I was just thinking, like, Witching Auer is kind of spooky and just kind of stuck.
No, I know. Yeah, when you have a name like Auer, you have to make a pun on it of it somehow. Right. I think you just came across it, and you're like, we were talking something about because like historically, because we did some research on it. Historically, 3 a.m. is Witching Auer.
Yeah.
Oh.
So that's the time of night that weird happenings might happen, or something like that, according to legend. And so we had heard just that sentence, Witching Auer, like, oh, interesting, and so it kind of, just stuck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine like the giant Witching Auer sign all over your yard, like, welcome into the Witching Auer. Which brings me to my next question. Like, if I tried to put one of those giant signs out on my street here and built a fake house in my driveway, I'm sure that I would get a call from the city telling me, hey, you probably shouldn't be doing this. So like, was that a problem? Or like what'd you do when you called up your friends and your parents? You're like, Mom, Dad, we're building a fake house this Halloween. Like, did you get support from them?
Oh man. Well, this was a big planned project. And I mean, it took every bit of time. I mean, we planned it over a year before we actually did it. And so there was only a really small amount of people that we had kind of talked about it. And I don't think they realized the scale or what it was really going to look like until it was right in front of them. As far as the crowds, though, I mean, we got pretty lucky. We did not expect it to be as popular as it was. And we live in a pretty well-traveled street, but we expected people to kind of roll up and go on their way and that kind of thing. But when the news caught hold of it and like the local paper caught hold of it, I mean, it definitely got pretty popular. But what do you think?
Well, our neighbors were very supportive of it, especially our neighbors right across the street. They were so into it. I remember that there was one night that we went out and we heard the audio from our show, which is supposed to be kept, in their car on the radio blaring. And I was like, where is this coming from? Because we have to find these people because it's so loud. It might upset our neighbors. And it was our neighbors. And they had a whole bunch of their friends, like, well, not friends, but probably family, I think, that were out. And they were blaring it. They brought like these like subwoofers out to blare the music on their side to just get this full blown experience. We're like, okay, I mean, if you're our neighbors doing it, then that's fine. Yeah. As long as it's not one of the cars. So they seemed to get into the spirit like we were. So we were very fortunate with that part.
I had a thought of like somebody driving by, but they don't know that's going on. Like, so they don't have the radio tuned to it or whatever. Like somebody's like in the passenger seat and they like look up and they see like just at that point, like the shadow up in the upper window, just like, ugh, like killing somebody.
There was a lot of double takes for sure, especially when we were putting it up. There was a lot of those people that would do the whole, they look once and then they really look like, what in the world is that?
Yeah, it's funny because even when we took it down this year, it was really funny. When we were taking it down, people would roll down their windows and be like, no, don't take it down. It was funny.
Well, even in the haunted house that we run here, and it's just a weekend, but it's just so fun. It's so rewarding to be in there watching people experience this thing that you created. And then the advantage that you guys have that we don't is like you guys started building this in like February or something.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What's that process like?
We planned it that way, I think, to keep it fun. I think, with the scale that it was, we knew that if we, started in, September, we would just be, I mean, and even still, we were working every day in September to really finish it. But we had, I had drafted everything out ahead of time so that by the time we got to the building phase, I wanted to make sure that we weren't, guessing measurements and that kind of thing. So the one thing I really, really credit my bachelor's for is I learned how to do drafting in Vectorworks. And so I was able to draft the whole facade to scale and kind of look at it. We would make design calls on what looked right. And you kind of got a virtual sense of what it was going to look like. But yeah, we just kind of went out and just built it one section at a time. And it kept it really enjoyable that way.
And even then in February, we weren't sure necessarily what things would look like in October. So we thought if we started in February, if it was safe at that time, maybe we could do a maze.
Yeah.
So that kind of gave us some wiggle room too to just kind of make some decisions there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think you said by June or so you decided to just go ahead and not do the walkthrough.
Yeah.
But how the thing again when you go and watch the video for your average person like us, the first thing I wonder about is like, because actually I want to do it, but I'll probably never have the time, or I'll never figure it out. But like, how do you sync up all the stuff, like all, the sounds with what we're seeing as you're watching it, and then also kind of leading in. There's two questions here: the syncing up of all of that. There's probably some technology behind that, obviously, and then the actual silhouette filming that you did.
Yeah, there was, so there was a bunch of things. I mean, like we said, it was always originally intended to be a walkthrough, and the projections up there were still going to happen with the walkthrough. There just wasn't going to be as many. It was going to be really just focusing on one scene, that beginning scene. But the system we used to run it is a system called QLab, and I gained knowledge of it through college, and also the theater I used to work at, used it. It's a really big program used in theater primarily. And essentially what it does is it's a show control system, and so it kind of does whatever you want it to do. You kind of can cue your audio, your lighting, your projection, and all these different things that you can time it, you can manually cue it, or have it, take its own triggers. And so for us, we started with the audio, kind of went through what we want the story to be through the audio and the dialogue and that kind of thing. And then we timed all the silhouette acting around that, which the silhouette acting was actually us. So
when we found out that we would be doing just primarily a display, we were going to do that one scene at the beginning with Judith and young Michael, but I thought, well, if we're going to do a display and we want this to be something that's kind of interactive and immersive, why don't we just tell the whole story in about 9 minutes of the first Michael Myers movie? And so we tried to take some of the more significant moments and film them in a silhouette. And we got as creative as we could because, during a time where you're kind of limited on who you can see in different things just because of just the whole pandemic and whatnot. We used ourselves and my father, and that was it. So everyone you see up there is one of us. So that first scene with Judith Myers and young Michael, that was me as young Michael killing myself as Judith, which is such an interesting concept when you think about it. But after some editing, that's exactly what it was.
I honestly, I tell her this all the time too. I think that was my favorite scene of the entire display, was just that opening moment, because anyone that knows the original film, that's, at that point, you do not know what the film's going to be about, who Michael Myers is, because everything's shot from his perspective. And so for the guests, they got to relive that scene from the movie, but seeing it from the perspective as if they were standing outside the house the night that Judith died. And so obviously we took some artistic liberties with that to kind of show everything in the windows. But what was so cool is, like Emily said, she was both of those characters. So it was both two completely separate takes.
And the acting, like you guys must have really practiced that to sync up the acting of the silhouettes with the dialogue that was happening. That was actually dialogue from the movie. So I thought that was pretty cool. Also,
thank you.
Yeah.
That was a lot of Ben directing the scenes, and And it was really cool because with my dad having Donald Pleasant's part in that, it was fun because he was giving him directions on how to kind of react to different things and whatnot. And it did take some rehearsing with just different parts and timing, and that was cool.
Why'd you guys pick, out of all the entire horror movie like library database, why'd you guys pick Halloween? Because I'm young enough, and I have seen Halloween, just to clear this up, but to me, Jamie Lee Curtis is the Activia yogurt lady who also does movies, right? And so there's a bit of a generational gap there. So what made you guys pick Halloween?
Oh, man.
Well, gosh, there's so many reasons why, I guess, at this point. But if we're taking it way back to the first time we ever went to horror nights, I myself, I wasn't that huge into the horror genre or anything. I grew up with Disney movies and things like that. So I was always a little afraid of scary movies until we went to horror nights, of all places. Some of our friends convinced us to go. And one of the first mazes we went in, the very first, was the Michael Myers maze. They had a Halloween maze that year. And I went through it, and it was scary, but really fun. And that's when I fell in love with like mazes and different things like that. And I just was so curious. I was like, okay, who is this Michael Myers guy in the mask? Cause the maze, it does take you through the story, but it only tells you so much. So we went home and we watched the movie, and I loved it. And that's when I ended up really falling in love with horror movies and the horror genre in general. And you've always really liked Halloween.
I mean, it's Michael Myers. I mean, I think the thing that we wanted to do is we really, and here on out in the future too, we really want to recreate properties that people just know. And the thing about Michael Myers is, even if you've never seen the original movie, because there's a whole ton of them, even if you've never seen the original movie, odds are you know who Michael Myers is when you see that mask. It's so recognizable. And so, and I think as far as building something, there was something really fun about building kind of your classic haunted house. I mean, the Myers house really just is a classic haunted house from your old ghost stories. It's old and creaking and just, dilapidated and weathered, and it's kind of it's a cool house to serve as the front of something. And especially now with the movie being so popular and being around for so long, it's become such a recognizable thing. I think.
His mask is iconic too. I feel like a lot of people, even if you haven't seen the movie, you probably, if you saw that mask, would know that that's Michael Myers.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Especially, I had forgotten about this until you said the mask, but at the very end, where you see that in the downstairs in the door. So that was that was cool.
Thank you.
So that's Jay, you're thinking of Michael Myers from SNL and Wayne's World and stuff.
Oh yeah, he was in that movie. So I Married an Axe Murderer.
Yeah, that makes sense now, right? Isn't that right, guys? Yeah.
Right. He had the same mask, right?
Yeah, it was the same thing.
And Wayne, was that Wayne's World?
Yeah, you're right.
Okay. So without giving us too much information, or information where your parents would be like, oh, why are they spending so much money on this? We're just wondering, like, how did you finance this? Was obviously it was just like because you love it, right? But maybe something like this didn't cost as much as what we would think by watching it.
Yeah, I think that was the biggest question we got from a lot of people is, how did you, how much does it cost? And it's funny, like I really can't put a number on it because, it was done over so much time that I'm sure I could go back and track everything, but really, that's the other point though too, is it's built literally exactly like a movie set. And the thing about a movie set is, again, it's like theatrical, it's meant to be temporary. And so when you build something like that, you're not going out and you're not buying insulation foam, and you're not buying actual gutters. You're making stuff to imitate that, And so even like our clapboard siding that's on there, it's painted and aged to look like clapboard siding, yet it's your underlayment material, 1/8-inch underlayment material that you cut up in pieces and 8-inch pieces and lay over each other to look like clapboard siding. But in reality, it would never hold up in any elements. And I think the other part of it was we financed it really just by doing over time. I think it was so much easier that way to go, hey, let's do 2 flats this month. You know, I think that was some of the fun in it, is finding creative ways to make it look real, but really it's, you know, as soon as you walk behind it, you realize it's just a big flat.
Well, did that take a lot of space to store?
You know, that was the other question that people always ask us, is where in the world do you put this?
Yeah, I mean, what do you do with that?
Burn it.
So currently,
bonfire,
right? Hey, that would be quite the fire, wouldn't it? No, so, you know, like we said, we built it in sections, and we did it that way so that it would be modular. You know, we wanted it to,
really?
There's a lot of people that make things where, you know, you make it so that it has to be ripped apart when you're done with it. But we wanted this to be put together with bolts and that kind of thing so that you could just take it right apart. So it made the put up and the takedown time really pretty quick. Once you start breaking down these flats and you stack them on top of each other, we have a little area on our side yard that we tarp everything so it's out of the elements, and that's it. I mean, you can look on the side yard, and if you showed someone that's the whole Michael Myers facade, they might not believe you. They'd be like, really? Because that's so much bigger than that. But when it collapses down, it really is a lot less than you think.
Well, you guys were so scary that you were on TV, and was that unexpected? And also, I want to hear about like what other kind of unexpected feedback you got.
Well, goodness. Well, the Fresno ABC, they came out. It was funny. We were just at home. We were lucky we were at home. They didn't tell us they were coming.
They just showed up.
Yeah, they just showed up. Yeah, and luckily it was great. We were already working on things and stuff for the day, yeah. So we were already out there in different things, and so they came by and they did a little interview, and that was a wonderful surprise. Yeah. Our local Merced Daily, they contacted us and they came out, and we thank them a lot for what they did, because really they got a lot of word out. That's where a lot of our response came from.
I credit a lot of the response from that article, because they reached out to us months before we put this up, but they had seen our progress videos and kind of our plans and that kind of thing. And so they reached out to us and they did that interview the day we set it up. Like, we had just finished putting up everything. The video wasn't even programmed yet, and they came out to document it. And as soon as they posted that, they had great questions. They wrote a really good article. And as soon as they posted that link is when, our Instagram started blowing up. People started sharing it all over the place because it really reached a lot of people. But I think what really reached the people farther than the local area was that ABC. And it was, like Emily said, it was a really funny day. The person that filmed our video, he was out here and we're showing him different places to film because he came out to document it. And I was showing him, I think, the back of the facade, and I see ABC roll up. And I'm like, what in the world? We didn't contact them.
Sorry, guys, you're at the wrong house. Nothing good to see here.
Nothing going on here.
And it was a super casual thing. It was really funny. There was one guy, it was the camera guy, and I said, if I can ask, how did you hear about us? And he said, my wife came out a couple nights ago and took a video and sent it to me and was like, you got to see this. And so
it's always the wife.
Thank you to his wife. And so he came out and just did a little plug on it. And I think they ran it with the reporters like a couple times. But that's what really got us out far, because there was people that we met from like Sacramento, like 2 hours away. We had, people from 4 hours away come to see it. And we were completely flattered that people would drive that far just to see this, replica house.
Well, and then on top of that, just people that noticed and reached out along the way. It just so happened that Jamie Lee Curtis saw a video on Halloween that we posted, and she shared it in her story, which was pretty cool.
No way.
The Activia lady did that for you?
Yes, exactly.
Well, if you think that ABC thing and Jamie Lee Curtis thing was really big, just wait until our podcast listeners get an earful of this thing.
Tens of people.
Tens of people are going to be flocking, like all the way from Finland. It's going to be crazy.
Hey, you never know.
Jamie Lee Curtis is going to be calling you, Adam. Watch out.
Yeah,
that's true.
But there's no doubt in my mind that you guys will do this again next year and for many, many years. But before you talked about being kind of a walkthrough, are you hoping to do a walkthrough next year, or has this drive-through experience changed your mind and you're like, hey, we're just doing the drive up from now on?
That's actually it's a good question, because I think it's going to be a little bit of a hybrid. So our plans as of now, assuming that the pandemic, the state of everything will be better, yes, we definitely want it to be the walkthrough that was intended. I mean, the whole driving force behind this project was to create a Universal Studios style walkthrough experience, but right here, in someone's house, and we wanted to try to get the caliber the same as we could. So we already have, the plans and the drafts kind of forming and the designs for what the walkthrough is going to look like, feel like, and that kind of thing. We'll probably start building, same thing around January, February, with the expectation that it's going to be a walkthrough, and hopefully by October, if things are better, it will definitely be a walkthrough. But what we're talking about doing, because obviously we're going to have to staff our performers and that kind of thing, it's totally unexpected to think we're going to have people volunteering their time Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. And so I think on the nights that we're not running the walkthrough portion, we'll just do the same show that we did last year, so that people that are driving by can still get something to enjoy if they come on a non-haunt night.
Cool.
Yeah.
Well, Ben and Emily, obviously getting this kind of audio exposure is great, but we can't really grasp it. So when can we expect our plane tickets from you guys so we can get out there and cover this firsthand?
September's fine.
Yeah. Just stay at your place for a month and a half.
You're talking about needing volunteers.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, if you guys want to be some Michael Myers for us next year, we're looking, So.
Yeah, well, how tall is Michael Myers supposed to be in the movie?
Well, I mean, with volunteers, we'll take what we can get, but hopefully 6 foot or so.
Oh, I'm 6 foot, so
I'm 5'3", so you're good. We're set.
He's Michael Myers' little brother.
On platforms, big platforms.
Well, Ben and Emily, we have one final surprise question that we didn't really tell you about, but it's a speed round. So the way it'll work is we'll have you guys take turns. Ben, you can go first, then Emily, you'll answer the next one, and answer each question with just the first thing that comes to your mind.
Immediate.
Yeah,
no thinking.
Alrighty. So
they're not that great a question, so don't get that excited.
Yeah, all right, Ben, so you're up first. You ready? Scary or funny jack-o'-lanterns?
Ooh, scary.
Psychological horror or gory horror? This is for Emily.
Psychological.
All right, Ben. Favorite place to travel?
Oh man.
Time's a ticking, Ben.
For right now, Horror Nights, because we missed it this year. So.
It's called a speed round for a reason. Emily, best haunted house you've ever been to?
Oh gosh, Universal Horror Nights.
Witching Hour. The answer is Witching Hour.
Plug yourself.
Come on.
That one, and then
all right, Ben. Tread lightly. Podcast or radio?
Podcast.
Boom.
Emily.
Yeah, for sure. No, way more information.
Who wrote this? Coffee or pineapple juice?
Coffee?
Yay!
Coffee, lots of coffee.
Or some third drink.
Yeah, or something else. All right, Ben. Best movie for Halloween?
Ooh, Halloween.
Well, yeah.
Well done. Again, who wrote this?
Yeah. You
Emily,
gotta fire someone.
Worst/funniest Halloween memory.
Oh gosh, the time that we thought it was a great idea to carve like 12 jack-o'-lanterns.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, remember that? Remember that, Adam?
That was so funny.
That was hilarious. I remember that.
It was exhausting, and we were like, why the heck are we doing this? Throwing all these pumpkins together, trying to get them to talk about last second. That was 2 years ago, right?
Yeah, I don't know why we did that.
God.
Don't do that.
It's a speed round. It's a speed round. Quit talking.
Alrighty, so this is the final one, and it's for both of you because it's the newlywed test to see if you have the same answer.
Ooh.
All right, on
At
three,
the same time.
On three, the worst Halloween movie. On 1, 2, 3.
Saw.
Saw. Oh, I think the Goosebumps or what is it? No, the Scary Stories.
Oh, Scary Stories to Tell in the.
I don't know. I didn't like that one.
Yeah.
So Saw / scary movies to tell in the dark.
Scary stories to tell in the dark. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like as much as we love scary stuff, like just gore for the sake of gore. It's like, where's the story? You know?
Oh, with the song.
Yeah, where's the story?
Scary stories.
Well, Ben and Emily, thank you guys so much for coming on today. It was a blast to have you on.
It was so much fun hearing about what you're doing and like learning about all this stuff.
Hey, thanks for having us. Honestly, it's just fun to relive it all, you know, to talk about it again. I mean, now that it's been a little while since it's been up, and yeah, it's a pleasure, honestly. Yeah. We just enjoy it. It's fun to talk about the whole process, not just what people see, you know, in the videos, but what led up to that moment. So thanks for hearing us out.
Yeah, we'll make sure to put all the links to all your stuff in the show descriptions. But until then, we'll catch you.
Yeah, we'll look for the plane tickets in the mail soon too.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, we'll send them out. Let us. Yeah, if that haunted house is going on, we'll let you know.
All right. Well, we'll catch you guys later.
All right.
See ya.
Good.
Bye.
Bye.
Hey, Adam, that was really interesting.
It was all right.
Come on, man.
I'm just kidding.
I still can't get my head around like all the cool technology that they use.
Yeah, it was like some Back to the Future stuff.
Or cooler, even.
Yeah. Oh, anyway.
But I love that movie. But I also love the story how they met because of the YouTube video that Ben made. I don't think I know anybody else that met and fell in love and got married
via YouTube.
Interacted over YouTube.
Yeah, they're one of a kind.
Yeah, but I'm also I was thinking about like I'm pretty envious of how great they're at building the actual set. Like it looked just like the house in the movie, and because it's a set, like it folds down into like one of those big Amazon.com bubbly envelopes, you know?
Yeah.
And they're all done with it, and they just like slide it under their bed and it's ready to go till next October.
Ooh, yeah.
Maybe they could mail it to us.
Exactly.
Well, I think this year we definitely need to check in with them right before they get rolling because they're planning to do a walkthrough.
Exactly.
And then check with them afterwards and hear how it went.
Yeah, we'll get the word out for them. And like, I just can't believe all that time they spent on this thing and just how big it got with like the news and like Jamie Lee Curtis and stuff. And I'm sure one of these days they'll be like driving around in a limo and like the set of like 20th Century Fox. There's like consultant directors for all these horror movies and stuff like that. Just big and famous.
And you know what else, Adam? What? I think that we are partially to thank for that claim to fame that they're going to have. You know, at least 6. They get like at least 6 more people.
We think that's it for today, man?
Yeah.
Well, is that it for today, man?
Not really.
What?
No, that's right. Because it's the end of the season.
Oh, yeah. Wrapping up season 2. Can you believe it, man? I mean, people put up with us for a whole nother season.
I know. And I especially feel bad for Ben and Emily because the thing people are going to remember is them being associated with us. Seriously. But I mean, what an incredible lineup of guests that we had, you know? I appreciate all of them for coming on and sharing their stories.
Yeah, it's just been a blast. So special thanks to everyone who helped make this season possible. And a quick shout out to our biggest fan, Rachel Gibby. And our first fan club email came from Laura Arnold. Yes. So that's impressive.
I know. I'm waiting for number 2. And you know what, man?
What?
We'll have season 3 coming out shortly. So everyone be on the lookout for another awesome trailer.
Woohoo!
Coming soon.
Yeah! Alrighty, well, that was The Inside, Season 2 finale. So Ben and Emily's Instagram is at WITCHINGAUER. That's at Witching Auer. And special thanks to our guests today, Emily and Ben, and everyone else to help make this season possible. And as always, special thanks to our producer, Dave. And the show is written, recorded, edited, and co-produced by Jay and myself. Our title music, Crossroads, was written by Rock Sounds. We'll have a link in the show description for them. Our title music was performed by Keith Richards for both seasons. He just won't give up. So
we can't quit Keith.
Exactly. Do you know someone you think should be on the inside? Send us an email with your suggestions for season 3. We'll have that coming out shortly, so make sure to be on the lookout for that, alrighty? And as always, make sure to follow us on Instagram at The Inside Podcasters or shoot us an email at theinsidepodcasters@gmail.com. I don't know. You were the one that squigged it.
I'm unsquig.
De-squiggle?
I released the squig.
Okay.
I'm squigless in Seattle. Oh, God.
Yeah, it was one of those things I think the best thing to do when you're getting a little stressed, especially when the time's crunching and you feel like people are out there,
just quit.
Just quit. Give up.
Leave.
Down. No.
Forget it.
No.